Mark Ingram absolutely nailed it when he was making his prediction for the SEC championship game during the Boise State UNLV game the night prior. Mark Ingram knew that Georgia was going to beat Texas. He had a strong feeling, and when he made his prediction, he kind of opened up some eyes with what he said. Here's what he had to say. He said, "I know Kirby Smart personally. He was my defensive coordinator at Alabama. When he smells blood in the water, he attacks." I think that will be the difference in the game. Them putting pressure on Quinn Ewers and that high ankle sprain. Of course, that's kind of exactly what we saw. But he's exactly right? Kirby finds the blood in the water. That's what his team does, right? The 21 Dogs, the 22 Dogs, when they kicked off, right, ding, ding, they punch you in the face, smell the blood, attack, and then just rip your face off, right? But these Dogs do it a little different. They settle in, they dissect what's going on, they adapt, and then they find the blood in the water and they attack. But they knew that Quinn Ewers was not at full strength, right? He did throw for about 358 yards. He had that long touchdown, but he was limited in a way with that ankle, and he was accurate for most of the game, but he still put the ball in bad situations. He threw 2 interceptions, and Georgia got to him 6 times. 5 different Bulldogs had a sack in that game. They saw the blood in the water in Austin. They got after him and made life living hell for him that day. And they kind of did the same thing in Atlanta. So, that's one of the reasons why Kirby Smart is the coach that he is. Not only is he a motivator, but they do a good job of finding weaknesses in other teams. Now, it didn't look like Georgia Tech had a lot of blood in the water, right? Georgia had to fight that one out until the very end. It's still crazy. 8 overtime win, right? But, against Tennessee, they got down early. And even in that Tech game, they got down early, they settled in, and they found the blood, right? They didn't attack and create the blood, but they found it. They sniffed it out. They made adjustments, and they won the game. And again, you could point to the Alabama game as well, down 28-0. They had to search for it, but they found the weakness, that Alabama secondary. They found the blood. They pushed the ball. They attacked, and they took the lead there. Against Kentucky, that was kind of an all-out brawl. They didn't really smell a ton of blood there, but they found a way to win the game. And I guess, having that red zone defense stand up and, they won that game because they found the end zone and Kentucky couldn't, if I remember that one correctly. But against Clemson, right, tough, really tight ball game at the half. Georgia, found a way to find a weakness, attack, and I believe from what I remember that game, a lot of those mesh concepts underneath, getting guys open in different ways in the second half led to them scoring, I believe, 28, unanswered points or something like that in the second half, and they cruised, right? They found the blood in the water and they attacked, and these Dogs are hungry right now, and they're hoping that either Indiana or Notre Dame will be dripping a little blood going down to New Orleans. And if this group is as healthy as they can be all season long and they're well rested and can take advantage of that, they're going to look for the blood. They're going to try to smell it, and they're going to be hungry at that point, right? They've got a lot of rest. They're going to come out and be in attack mode. And if there's blood in the water, this team does a really good job of sniffing it out and attacking and being aggressive. Against Florida, got down early. I think again, they got down early in that game. DJ Lagway going out. It was not ideal for them, but Georgia was clearly the better team. And again, they got down, but they regrouped, they focused, and they attacked in the second half. And we've seen what this team can do when they're down. It's almost like they thrive on it, right? When their backs are against the wall, people aren't buying into them. People, think they're going to lose the game in a crazy way. That is a motivating factor for this team. And even during the game, when they're down, they've shown the ability to fight and keep searching for that blood in the water. And if it's there, they have shown that they will exploit that, right? And they will take advantage of it, and they'll find ways to win. And they did it against Texas. Again, down at the half, a very familiar place. This team has been down in just almost every meaningful game, at least in the first half, right? And a lot of these games are second half comebacks. So against Tennessee, Texas down early, they find a way to get the job done. And, again, Mark Ingram's right, and it goes back to his days at Alabama. And while Kirby was the defensive coordinator, right, Mark was on offense doing his thing. But, I believe he said in the past, Kirby's different. He is learning from Nick Saban. He's a young Nick Saban. That's exactly what he's turned out to be. But It's the way he coaches. There's always fight back. There's never a sense where they're giving up. This team isn't giving up. It's tough to blow this team out, and Ole Miss kind of did in a way. I wouldn't say it was a complete blowout, but they physically dominated them and absolutely won the battle in the trenches. So in a way, they kind of did, but they didn't stop fighting, right? There's always fight in this team, and just about every time they come out on top because of that. And it's because this, again, it goes back to the chemistry, the connection this team has. But again, this staff does a really good job too of doing their job and making adjustments when they're with their own position group. I think Mike Bobo's done a great job of finding things that defenses may not be taking advantage of and trying to do that. They've got to run their system too, but at the same time, getting guys involved and again against Texas, making things a little more comfortable for Gunnar Stockton, especially late in the game, trying to use his legs. It ended up working out and running the ball when they needed to. So he saw that, Texas was kind of on their heels a little bit defensively, and they were able to take advantage of that in overtime. But that's this program. We've seen it, and Mark Ingram has seen it for a long time. So, Kirby gets after it, and we've seen that they're never out of a game, right? That fight's always going to be there. But at the end of the day, where could Notre Dame and Indiana start bleeding, right? If you're watching that game, you're Kirby Smart, you're trying to find every single type of disadvantage, right? So they're looking for that blood now. They're taking notes, and I think both teams are really similar. They're both physical teams. I think they're both strong in the trenches. They both can run the football. Obviously, Notre Dame can do it better, and they've got two really good running backs and a quarterback who can run the ball. But, you don't want Riley Leonard, slinging the ball 30 plus times. That's not ideal. So Indiana, you want him throwing the ball. And if you're Georgia, you got to stop that run. And maybe that's the blood that they could be tripping, right? Is their inability to tell their quarterback, hey, we need you to win this game against those dogs with your arm through the air, right? So if you can make teams one-dimensional, which Georgia's been able to do at times this year, that's one step in trying to attack and be in attack mode. And we've seen these pass rushers get after it, right? But that's not something that Notre Dame or Indiana want to do. They want to establish a run game. So, what Georgia does best in ways, especially defensively, is attacking the quarterback. And again, 5 different guys got to Quinn Ewers. So that's something that, you definitely want to get the offense in those medium third and longs, third and medium, third and long in passing situations. But when you're going up against teams that run the ball really well, it's tough to do that. When these teams are getting 4 or 5 yards at least a rush and have the ability to occasionally throw the ball downfield and make some passes through the air. And Georgia's a pretty good team against. It's tough to really throw on Georgia. They've had some hiccups here and there throughout the season. But I do think for the most part, they've played pretty well. And the defensive line, man, when that group is healthy, especially, they can really get after it. But again, too inconsistent, right? That's where they need to get better. You can't let Georgia Tech run for whatever they ran for, and then against Texas, they completely kind of shut it down, right? You would like to see them be more consistent, but at the same time, they kind of rise their play to the level of competition. So this is a big one, right? And I expect Georgia, no matter who they play, to come out with fire and energy, with all this rest. And if there's blood in the water, if they can smell it, you can bet Kirby Smart and this staff are going to be ready for it. So they're taking notes. They're looking for it right now. They're looking for ways that they can attack. But again, it's still tough to do when you don't know who you're playing. But I do think these teams are similar, and I'm excited to watch that game on Friday night. I think Indiana can absolutely win. Right now, I think Notre Dame pulls it out in the end, but I'm expecting a tight war. And if you get a tough physical battle, which is what I expect from these two teams, then there could be some beat up, Notre Dame starters, Irishmen, right? And Hoosiers. There are going to be some beat up guys either way coming into New Orleans and going up against a healthy Georgia team. That's dangerous for whoever the Dogs are taking on. So again, the more you dig into Georgia's scenario, what the playoff looks like, I do think you have to like their chances. But either way, no matter who they're playing, they're going to try to identify a weakness and attack. And we've seen them do it all year. It hasn't been easy all the time, but at the end of the day, most of the time, these Dogs are getting the job done, and I think they're going to continue to do it. But we don't know who they're playing yet, but we'll see. If either one of these teams have to limp their way to New Orleans against a healthy, fresh, I don't want to say fresh, but as healthy a possible Georgia team, I think they get the job done, and hunting season is right around the corner for these Dogs. They're looking to hunt. We'll see who they get in New Orleans, but either way, I think Georgia's in a pretty decent position right now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the website.